What's up, guys? Healthiest Linux user here. I'm gonna be honest, I like the way Mac OS looks. It looks nice. I don't particularly like how it works behind the scenes. It's very GUI focused, and it's a big emphasis on spyware. Closed source proprietary software. So I'm not really a fan of that. However, just how it looks pretty nice. I've always been a fan of that. And when I got into Linux, I remember the first thing I tried to do is make it look nice. And it's a bit harder. It's a bit harder. But I think how I've managed it is pretty well. Obviously, it's not like a one-to-one replica. That wasn't even my goal. It's more like, just take a little bit of inspiration. And, I like how it looks. You got the nice blur effects. You got a top bar. You got, your time. I think the date, they don't have it like, the date is like on the right like that. I personally like having a date in the middle, but that's just me. Like, you look at this, you're like, it's pretty nice, but I've really boiled it down. I've boiled down the whole look. The whole look is this. You have a top bar. The top bar is blurred, like you can see there. And, you have like some icons, but, there's this like search icon, battery icon. Obviously, I don't have a laptop, so there's no point. Or at least this is not a laptop. I'm just like, I looked at it, I'm like, I only need the Wi-Fi symbol. And it's not clickable, but to me, it's just like, okay, do I have Wi-Fi or do I not? That's all I need to know, really. I don't care about clicking on it because, I guess maybe I could build that in, but personally, if I just want to change my internet, just boom, I can go in here, change my Wi-Fi. It's that simple to me. So how do you do this? So first of all, how macOS is built, it's built using floating windows. So for example, this is a floating window. I spawn in a window and it's like this. However, the setup that I'm going to be telling you how to do, it's technically a tiling window manager. So basically means you spawn in a window. So before, this is floating window mode. But if I change the tiling window mode, or spawn it in, if I change the tiling window, it'll go like this. And I spawn in like this. You can adjust it. Obviously, macOS doesn't work like this, but honestly, I think it works better than how macOS works. You know what I mean? But let's get into it. So first of all, I would say that the distribution that you choose does not matter at all. Might make a video on this another time, but your distribution does not matter. Like, it does, but it really doesn't. It's just kind of the pre-installed programs. But at the end of the day, you're still using the base operating system called Linux. Now, I'm on Arch. If I do, Neofetch right here. I'm on Arch Linux. And the reason why I choose Arch Linux is because it's like a default layer. It's very minimal. There isn't a whole bunch of crap, installed into your computer that you don't even need. So that's personally why I like it. And it's a lot easier to work with, so you don't have conflicting programs. But again, your operating system does not matter, or your distribution does not matter. What does matter in this case is going to be your window manager, which I'm going to be using DWM. Now, if you're new to Linux, you might want to hold off on using this. You could use KDE, and with KDE, KDE is like it's a desktop environment, which is actually more similar in function to macOS. I remember when I was on KDE, I also had a top bar like this, and I even had a Docker. Now, I don't have a Docker. You can install one. I just don't use one because I think it's stupid, personally. I don't see the point. But you can install one. There's nothing stopping you. I think it's actually called Latte Dock or something like that. Latte Dock. Yeah. This is what I was using. And it literally looks like macOS, So if that's what the look you're going for, go for it. But yeah, KDE, very customizable, and I've seen people that make it like look one-to-one. The only reason why I don't really recommend it that much though, so this is how it looks by default, but you can modify it to look like Mac OS. I'm sure there's like some photo here. Yeah, so this is like KDE. This is how you can have it. It basically looks the exact same. Only reason why I don't recommend it is because when you try so hard to make it look a certain way, often you have to download a lot of programs and stuff, and these programs might not be the best in terms of, like, they might not work best. Like, they might have the looks and all that, but besides that, the program doesn't function well, and it's just a lot of maintenance to keep it up, because I don't know how to describe this, but you're usually using skins and stuff like that, and it might not that's not how the program's naturally built. Obviously, it sounds stupid because it's a program. What do you mean naturally built? But it's just when you're using the program in its more like organic default state, it sounds like some hippie shit, but when you're using the program like normally, it tends to just work, you know? You don't tend to have as much issues. That's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, so what you'd want to do is you want to download DWM in this instance, and it's pretty complicated, to be honest, but you can simplify it for yourself. You can go to my GitHub, and I've got Suckless right here. I've got a repository called Suckless, and you don't have to use all the programs, but you can download DWM and dmenu, and essentially what it will have, so dmenu is like your program launcher. So if I do this, it's kind of like Spotlight. You know, obviously it doesn't look the same. I don't really care, but I think it's a little bit more harder to customize this one to look like that, but I don't really care. I like how it works. And, you know, I can open up my PDFs, and then I have like, okay, I want to read some religious texts. All right, I want to read the Latin Bible. And, you know, like that's how I have it set up. That's what DWM is. It's basically just a launcher. So you could do like Thunner, and now you have your your file manager. But you can download my instance of DWM. Actually, I think I need to update it, but yeah, I'll update it after this. Okay. And then everything should be swell. In terms of customizing, personally, I have my theme to be set like this with the, you'd also want to have, you'd want to have DWM, dmenu, and ST at minimum. I don't even use this anymore, and SLOC is just like a way to lock your computer, but you don't need those programs. But ST is the terminal, simple terminal, and again, technically you don't need this, but it becomes a lot more complicated. Honestly though, I would say, like, this is the main thing. The main thing is honestly the blur effect and the wallpaper. I'm not even gonna lie. If you don't even need to use the specific setup I have. What's more important is that you have some top bar and there's blur effects. Now with the blur effects, it's a lot easier. What you want is you want to have the program called PyCom. PyCom is a compositor which is giving these effects. So if I do Pico PyCom, then as you can see, all these effects are gone. This is how the actual what do you call it? This is the actual like setup in its like natural state. It's just a window, and like it doesn't have all these cool effects. However, if you load up PyCom, then you get, okay, wait, I gotta do this. PyCom experimental backends -b. Yeah, okay, good. When you load it with these specific settings, you can get this blur effect. You can get this like shadow effect that I think looks nice. You can also like do all these other stuff like around your corners. There's like VSync, so there's no screen tearing. And there's also the opacity. So the windows, the terminal is, it's see-through. It just looks nice. You can see there's a little bit of like see-through here. It also makes this top bar see-through as well. However, again, it's a bit AIDS. You have to do a lot of customizing, and specifically for PyCom, what you can do is if you go to your configuration, pycom.conf, and make this bigger. You can have shadow true on. You can also have these, it also gives you these like transition effects. The fading you turn on, and then you can just kind of play it around with it. These are my settings. And then transparency, you want to just, customize it to your liking, making it, make it more transparent, less transparent. And then this is the important part for blurring. You want to make sure your blur method is dual Kawasi, And then the only way to load this up with PyCom is if, before I kill PyCom, if I just load a PyCom like this, it says do kawase blur is not implemented. So to make sure that gets added, what you want to do is you want to do PyCom experimental backends, so it allows for that backend to be loaded. -B, I think that just like makes it that it continues running. And then you just put that into your Xnet RC or your startup configuration. As you can see, I have this line here. It just executes it on startup and boom, it's just good. Yeah, further, I don't think there's anything else that's really too important. I really just touch those couple settings and everything else is default. Yeah. So honestly, yeah, that's all you need. If you're interested, so if you also have DWM but you don't want to download my configuration, how I got this to be in the middle there, and how I did this, it's a bit more complicated, but I'll show you that as well. So first of all, when you get rid of, so by default, DWM, if you're hovering over a window, it'll have around here, it'll have text saying, oh, this is that window's name, this is that window's name. If you hover over Brave, which is like my browser, if you hover over it, then it'll say, Brave browser and, all that. When you implement the patch that gets rid of, which allows you to add something in the middle, it gets rid of that. So it's a compromise. Personally, I don't really care, but that's just a thing. If we go to Etsy suckless DWM, and the patch that I added was, so these are the patches that I've got. It's basically just how I customize my setup. The important one would be split status, yeah, right here. And you can just look this up in your browser, suckless DWM split status. Should be the first one. Yeah, so this is the patch. And again, you can see I basically just copied how this guy did it. When you use this, stuff like SL status will not work. So what I did instead is I just made my own status bar, and it's pretty simple. All you have to do really is, what I did is made a script that's called status bar, and I've got 3 functions. I've got day and date, Wi-Fi, time and date, time date, and all you do, I'll zoom this in. So all it is just a while loop that goes on forever, do while loop. So while this, do, and then it does xset root, which xset root name changes what your DWM bar shows. So it does, the function day and date, which is this function, and automatically goes to the middle. Then what you want to do is put in commas a semicolon, and that indicates to split status and to DWM that, okay, you're done with adding information at the top in the middle. And what it will do is like, okay, now I'll push everything to the right-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, I have my Wi-Fi function, which is another script that I guess I'll show in a sec. And this time and date function. And, you can mess around with how it looks and specifically what it says, but this is how I have it set up. My Wi-Fi function, or my Wi-Fi function, just leads to this script, which all it does is if, what it does is it goes through, it creates a subshell. Sorry, I can't talk right now. It just types in this command, nm CLI general, and this only works if you have network manager. So if you don't, then this command won't work, but basically it does network manager command line general, and it shows you, okay, connected state. And then what I do is I just awk it to show the first line, so it shows state and connected, and then I tail it to show just connected. And then I say, if this function equals disconnected, then, and you can't, I don't know why it's broken on here, but like right here is the, I think, disconnected logo or Wi-Fi logo. disconnect. It would be the disconnected logo. So if I disconnect my internet right now, and oh shit, right, okay, and I'm TUI. So if I disconnect it, you'll see it shows this disconnected logo. But then if I connect my internet, then it goes back to connected. That's just how I have my thing set up. And I think Vim or my terminal right now is just broken. It doesn't want to show this. But all it is just nerd fonts. So if you just look up nerd fonts, it's basically all these icons that you can just use on your desktop. These are the same icons that I use up here. Besides that, I don't think there's really anything else, you know. For your DWM bar, it's naturally not opaque. I can't say that word. It doesn't naturally. I can't talk. I actually can't talk. It doesn't have a natural opacity. Like, you can't change the opacity of the DWM bar. And to show you that it is, like, if I change my wallpaper right here, let me change it to like something that you can actually see it, like yeah, okay, so you can see that it kind of varies in color at certain points. Like, you can see like there's a cloud here. So again, that's actually not even the best. Like, I'm really like not doing well today. Okay, that's a bad wallpaper. Maybe this will go. Yeah, okay, this is good wallpaper. So you can see that it's opaque and it's also blurry. It's not just clear. If it was clear, when I do this, you can see, like, you can see through it entirely, but no, there's a little bit of a blur. So, you know, I think it just adds a little extra flair to it. And that's also how the, you know, how macOS looks. You know, it's got that blurred bar. And, you know, I really hope I don't miss out on anything. And then, okay, and then one last thing is, if you want to have it that macOS look, the wallpaper is actually probably the most important thing. It's interesting. We often kind of obsess about how, you know, to get all these icons and all these certain things, but realistically, it's usually the wallpaper that makes a setup look really cool. You know, you go to the subreddit Unix porn, where it basically shows oh, I don't think it's gonna work because I got filters, but yeah, like, if you go to this subreddit, it basically just shows you like what like people's like Unix setups, and usually what differentiates them is mostly just their wallpapers. It really is the wallpaper that like makes a setup look cool. Like, okay, the setup's like got all these icons and stuff, but that's a pretty nice wallpaper. And honestly, I think that's the most important thing. If you have a shit wallpaper, then it won't really have that feel. And, you know, that's why I specifically chose like a wallpaper like this that's very like mountains and misty and stuff. And I even downloaded some of the macOS wallpapers. Like, this is a macOS wallpaper, and bam, like, it literally looks like the macOS setup. So, you know, it really, like, if you want to get that feel, honestly, you just want to get blurred, you know, just blurred whatever, just blurred everything. Make sure there's like opacity. You can lower the opacity so you can see behind. You can like see your background and stuff. Yeah, like, again, like his, it's, yeah. And then you also want to have a wallpaper that's kind of like scenic, has some scenery to it, because that's how macOS wallpapers tend to look. And yeah, you can also add a Docker if you want. I don't, because it's just not my thing. But you can. And yeah, I didn't want to be, I wanted to give a more general, like, how to achieve the look, because I've been trying to for a while, and I feel like I got it down pretty well now. Even though it's not one for one, the look, I put, like, it fits my needs, and it still looks aesthetically pleasing to me. So I think that's what we all want. That's why I don't recommend, like, even downloading my setup, because my setup is not going to be tailored towards you. It's tailored towards me. So maybe there's some things you like, but honestly, it's probably more worth trying to figure out how DWM works, how to patch DWM. Download these. You don't need to download all of these patches. Some of these patches are only geared towards me because I have a dual monitor setup. So there's certain things that you have to work around with that. But the only things you need is, I mean, you can also have useless gaps. That's basically, it has this gap effect. If you don't have that, it doesn't look as clean in my opinion. But again, this is up to you. Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, this is, so these two is just for dual monitor setup. The split status is needed if you want to have this like something in the middle. It also gets rid of that like name thing, the name where it's like you're hovering over your mouse and it tells you what the name of the window is. That's more of a that's like a DWM thing. That's not really a macOS thing. macOS doesn't really have that. So if you just add this, it already kind of make it more like macOS. You know, if you get what I mean. Oh shit, my iPod fell. And shit. Yeah, this is just more functionality. This is also functionality. I think this is functionality. Yeah, this is functionality. This is like where you spawn it in and it'll go in the middle, because DWM naturally like spawns windows like this or something like really stupid. But honestly, alpha and split status is all you need for that look though. And yeah, that's all I have to say. A bit of a long video, long-winded. I hope I didn't bore anyone. But yeah, that's kind of the general way, I guess, if you wanna. Oh shit. Oh no. If you wanna achieve that look. But besides that, it's not really anything crazy. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. I will happily respond. Please like, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. See you guys next time. Peace.